Welcome back. Time for the Hot Topic Buzz. Twitter CEO Elon Musk teasing a new round of Twitter files that would focus on Anthony Fauci. Musk planning to release the, quote, Fauci Files later this week, tweeting over the weekend, quote, one thing's for sure, it won't be boring. Fauci saying last month that he, quote, will not respond to the cesspool of attacks on him. Batya, I'll start with you on this one because Dr. Fauci flip-flopped a lot on the pandemic, didn't necessarily give us everything we need when we needed it at that time, and he's being criticized for it. But it appears Elon Musk is going to dive deeper here. If it's anything like the Twitter files that pertained to Hunter Biden, it should be interesting. It could be explosive.
Absolutely, yeah. I definitely want to know more about the ways in which Twitter and Dr. Fauci intersected. I think there was a lot of misdirection, a lot of very bad advice coming out of Dr. Fauci's office. And I think that there was a real failure of introspection. So I'm looking forward to seeing what was there. I do have to say, I find it very interesting that Elon Musk is not more interested in where COVID came from. He's not more interested in China's role in this pandemic that killed millions and millions and millions of Americans. You know, for all of his tweeting and all of this, disclose this, disclose that, he never accidentally says anything negative about the CCP. And we know that that's because his entire supply chain is in China. And so he is very careful not to offend China. And I think that really weakens his position as, this moral arbiter of truth and free speech and so forth.
And when it came to, the Twitter files that we've seen so far, it was about censorship. It was spurred by the Hunter Biden laptop story. Obviously, it was suppressed by Twitter. But we found out so much more, how people were targeted, how their accounts were suspended, and what potentially could have been done with their data as well. I mean, what he is doing here, and he paid $44 billion to get to the truth, which I find to be completely fascinating. But what he's doing is trying to set the record straight and level the playing field.
Well, I think we'll be interested here in seeing what did Twitter know and when did they know it. I have no doubt that people were worshiping at the altar of Dr. Fauci within the offices and corridors of Twitter. But more importantly, we know now that it was Dr. Fauci who told us that we didn't need to wear a mask when they thought that we actually needed to wear those N95s, but didn't have enough N95s for everybody, right? We now know it was Dr. Fauci who was telling people that, yes, you can get this vaccine and it won't spread from person to person.
You won't get the virus.
Right. When they knew, most likely, that getting the jab would not prohibit that spread or those breakthrough infections. So, again, it's really us trying to figure out what were they doing now that we know there was that back door that allowed practically every single government agency that wanted to unfettered access to try to influence the conversations around COVID, to figure out how are we going to make sure this doesn't happen again? And
he's got, Elon Musk has a new philosophy on following the science. It was all pre his taking over Twitter. Following the science was, going along with Dr. Fauci. Alex Berenson talked about the vaccine and said it's not necessarily a vaccine, it's more of a therapeutic. Now time has passed and we realize that is true. Right. But his account was suspended. And so who sets the bar for what the science is?
Right, and unfortunately, we're already seeing, Elon Musk succumbing to personal desires to ban this account and that account. So I'm a little bit more suspicious of his grand claims to being a sort of impartial arbiter, if you will. Although, of course, Twitter under the old regime was so solidly on the side of the Democrats, so solidly in the pocket of the left.
And now they're saying, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but now they're saying that Elon Musk is going after them, and he's doing exactly what was happening before. That's not true. He's not going after the Democrats. He's just giving conservatives a voice again.
Well, I think, there's a debate about that, right? Suspending all of those journalists who were reporting on the Elon Jet account, right, may or may not have been, a targeted suspension. I will say I think he has sort of three competing motivations here. On the one hand, he wants Twitter to turn a profit.
Sure.
Right? So, and that competes with being an absolutely free speech platform because, of course, you can't get advertisers to advertise on your platform if there are swastikas on it, although swastikas are protected by the First Amendment. So you've got the free speech desire, then you have the desire to turn a profit, and then his desire to be in the headlines every day, which I think is sort of getting in the way of both of those.
Yeah, the tweeting with him, even with the doxing situation, had he just said, these are the new rules, this is how I'm doing it, doxing's not allowed, and but the tweeting and the back and forth reminds me of somebody.
Yes.
Look, I mean, I think the reality is that Elon Musk is not a white knight here to save us. We have to save ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think to your point, neutrality can feel like brutality when you're used to having the upper hand.
Yes.
I think the Democrats are used to having Twitter be their own personal playground. Those days
That's a
appear to
good
be
point.
over.
Joe Pinion, Batya, Ungar-Sargon, stay right there.